When you finally reach that infamous room 46 in Blueprints, you sigh relief, but that is just the beginning of the game. You're then met with many additional challenges and other secrets to figure out. If you haven't reached room 46, please check out this video for some tips and help, because this video is going to be fairly spoiler heavy, as today I'm going to provide 5 tips and a rough guide to support in the pursuit of the day 1 and hour 1 trophies, with some tidbits you may not know to help you along the way. So without further ado, let's get into it. Tip 1, the save file. How do you actually do it? How do you merge it? First thing to understand is no, you can't do this on your current save file, obviously. But no, this doesn't mean that you have to make a new save file and do everything again, making sure you do it in the first day and hour. What you can do is merge your save files together. Now for this, I will flash up a spoiler warning. Please skip on if you don't want to hear this bit of how to merge them. In order to merge the save files, you need the Blackbridge Grotto permanent upgrade, as well as the admin key to put in. Once you do, you can merge your save files. The codes that allow this are More R, Tom K, and Lee B. All you have to do is, once you have those trophies, come back to the main save file and use the computer to merge the files. It's worth noting, on the save file where you've got the day 1 and hour 1 trophies, you'll need to go into day 2 to get those trophies themselves. You can then go back to your original save file to merge them. Once you do merge them, it's worth saying that you'll need to end a day in order for it to all save. Tip 2, what you actually need during the run, the 2 sides of the reservoir. Understanding the minimum requirements that you need to get to room 46 in day 1 is obviously important. As we know, to get to room 46, you need to get to the basement, having been on both sides of the reservoir. You need to get to both sides of the reservoir, as you need to move the minecart in order to allow you to reach the lever that opens the antechamber door to room 46. To do this, you need 2 things. Either you need to get the tomb or the pump room for one side of the reservoir, and you need the foundation or power hammer for the other. There is one other option which you would need to be very lucky in order to get, which is to get the pump room connected to the boiler room, at which point you can reset the reservoir level so you can cross it by boat. As I've said, the reason for this is that you need to be able to move that minecart so that you can pass the cogs in order to get to the lever. So first up, let's talk about the tomb. The tomb is obviously in the outbuilding, which will require the utility closet and garage. First, remember that the garage only spawns on the east wing from rank 4 upwards, and you can only enter it from the south or from the west. What you will also need is at minimum 1 reroll dice, but ideally 2. This is because when you open the outbuilding on the first day, the choices will always be toolshed, cellar, and hovel. If you have 2 reroll dice though, you should be able to get the tomb, as there are only 8 choices and rerolling it twice will cycle 9 rooms. Once you get the tomb, you simply need to use the statue sequence in order to access the cart and move that minecart to the correct spot. If you need the sequence for the tomb, it's here. Alternatively, getting the pool and pump room allows you to empty the fountain to access the minecart as well. This, however, does require the basement key from the antechamber first, while the tomb doesn't. And as I said earlier, if you're lucky enough to get the boiler room connected to the pump room, then you'll be able to set the reservoir level so that you can use the boat to cross. Once you have one of those 2 options, for the other side, you're going to need either the foundation with access to the pulley lever on the other side of it, or you'll need the power hammer to break the wall to the basement. The foundation, again, you will need the basement key, while the hammer, you won't. So knowing that you need one of each of those combinations, either the foundation or the power hammer, or the fountain / pump room, or the tomb, means that they can be your main focuses early on in the day to try and make sure that you are maybe progressing towards the garage, or you're looking for the pump room and the pool. You'll obviously need access to the antechamber too. Tip 3, reliable antechamber access. The easiest and most reliable ways to get to the antechamber are to be lucky enough to get the secret garden key from the billiard room, which will allow you to open the west door of the antechamber. The secret garden can be placed on either wing, east or west, but you will need to be high enough for the room to require a key to use it. Another way would be to get a great hall with either enough keys to spend or having already got the foyer. A way to try and do this to get the foyer or the great hall is when you get the chance to draft the secret corridor, choose the orange book for additional hallways. This will normally give you some form of choice so that you have either the great hall or the foyer. If you can get that foyer first, the great hall is perfect. This will obviously give you access to the east door. Last of the more likely ways to enter the antechamber will be to find the broken lever and draft the greenhouse, allowing access to the south-facing door. The greenhouse similarly is always going to be on one of the wings. All these three ways are very possible, but there are a few other less likely ways that you'll get into the antechamber. One of those would be having the power hammer and drafting the weight room, knocking the wall down to reveal the south wall lever. However, I don't advise this choice because for obvious reasons you're going to lose a huge amount of steps from halving your step total. Which is why I suggest going for one of those original three that I suggested, either the secret garden, the foyer with the great hall, or finding a broken lever and getting the greenhouse. By far, I will find that the secret garden is the most reliable way. Tip 4. Maintaining steps. Steps are against you in this challenge. They will become an issue very quickly if you have to backtrack or don't have step economy. So first things first, make sure you focus on one wing until you exhaust your choices, or at least it isn't beneficial to continue based on what resources you have. Reduce the amount of time that you spend going back and forth between the wings, because on day one you only start with 50 steps, and don't forget you've got to go all the way down to the lever, which is going to use a huge amount of steps. But more importantly, you need to try and set up some form of economy of steps or way of generating them at least. Here are a few ways I suggest getting those steps. The first of which would be to draft the nursery early, which gives 5 steps per bedroom you enter. This will give some grace to your steps, particularly if you take this before you get the other bedrooms, so you don't have to go back and return to them in order to get those bonus 5 steps. If you do get the sleeping mask as well, this is perfect because you're getting 10 steps every time you enter a bedroom. If you use that room that counts as 2 bedrooms, you're going to get a huge bonus. This might be enough to give you what you need along with the standard fruit that you might pick up. This should give you roughly what you're going to need. One of the really good ways, if you're lucky enough to get it, is by using the lab. In the lab, there are multiple experiments which will give you a certain amount of steps or reset your steps, such as eating an apple sets your steps to 40. If you get this option and then happen to get the secret garden, which obviously spreads fruit, you are quids in when it comes to your steps. If you get the opportunity to draft the lab, anything that generates steps is a no-brainer. You should be able to get the keys and gems in other ways, so I suggest choosing the steps. There are too many times when I was trying to get this trophy that I was literally a handful of steps off completing it. A couple other things to consider is the aforementioned secret garden that spreads fruits throughout the house. So if you get the secret garden a little later in your run so that you've already got quite a lot of rooms, it's going to benefit you. Another way will be the running shoes, which might help you later on when you're having to travel larger distances. One of the more beneficial ones as well is the dining room. On day 1, the meal is always fish, meaning if you get the aquarium, you guarantee 30 additional steps from the dining room. Now, obviously, the additional way would be to use the kitchen in order to buy food. And I highly recommend that if you have coins and you maybe don't have the option to buy gems or keys, just use them to get as many steps as you can from the kitchen. Tip 5, drafting strategy. Couple things you must take into account are try to get dead ends early. You're going to need any rooms that allow you to travel north as cheaply as possible. So save any of those cheap northern corridors if you can. This isn't always easy, but in order to do that, the more you use up those dead ends in the early sections, the better. Don't get me wrong, you still need to leave yourself a couple of ways to move north, but the more rooms that have additional doors that you can use later, the better. Because things like the foundation, the pool, the garage, all of these rooms only spawn later on, secret garden as well as an example. Therefore, the more options you have to move the paths around later, the better. Use your dead ends early. Another thing that you may want to focus on is getting the utility closet and the security room, then setting the doors to high priority and unlocked, making sure that on the utility closet you can set the doors to unpowered. Unless you have a key card, of course, in which case don't worry about it, just set the doors to high priority. But if you do this, this will remove some of the need for additional keys later on, saving those keys for when you really need them. It's a big help. Here's a little tidbit though that is really worth understanding, is that in the entrance hall on day 1, if you go north out of the entrance hall, you are always guaranteed a closet with 2 items as one of your choices. This can be a really good way to push for good starts. If you're the kind that likes to start, hit that closet, see what items you get, and reset if you don't get something useful. It might be a beneficial way if you're getting frustrated with this, because this particular challenge is very RNG heavy. It might be a way of doing it. The kind of things that you really want out of that closet would be a set of dice, meaning that you've got 2 rerolls when you get to the outhouse, maybe a lucky rabbit's foot, which is hugely beneficial during these runs so that you can pick up more gems, more keys, more coins, etc. Maybe a key card or a sleeping mask as well, so that you've got more steps available. Obviously, a hammer and a shovel are good too, but these will have less of an impact compared to the other items. Plus, they're more common to come across in rooms like the courtyard as an example. So let's summarize the strategy. You need to know that you're looking for the right combination of foundation or power hammer and tomb or pump room. Start with the wings and also exhaust them, minimizing the amount that you need to move from one wing to another. Save keys and gems as best you can for later on use, and go for those dead ends early. Getting the utility closet and the security room so that you can have more security doors is a massive benefit too. One of the major keys to make sure you find a way to generate additional steps. There is no easy way to do this challenge. There really isn't. It will take many hours and many attempts, but knowing when a run is going to fail based on what you do and what rooms you're coming across means that you hopefully won't waste as much time. And knowing what you need to hunt for is how you are going to maximize the potential of completing this. I hope this has been somewhat useful. Let me know in the comments down below, how long did it take you and any other tips that you think might help people. I've been JammyGiraffe, sending love and positivity. As always, Jammy out.